My stepmom took my PS5, so I deported her to her home country. I'm an only son. My mom died of ovarian cancer 5 years ago. It broke my dad's heart. They had been together since college and were the same age, with my dad being a month older. I'm 22 and I'm about to graduate college with my degree in chemistry when the main problems started to occur. I went to college on a full-ride scholarship. This is important. Later, my dad met my now stepmom when she was my mom's nurse at the hospital where she spent her final days. My stepmom, Grace, played all the right notes to gain my dad's trust. She was empathetic to him, nurturing, comforting. After my mom passed, I was 17 and old enough to sense that she was just trying to weasel her way into getting my dad's resources. But it was up to my dad if he wanted to be in a relationship with her. I was in my final year of public school, and had just won a scholarship to attend college out of the country. The following year, my dad mourned my mom for a year, and the whole time Grace would check in on him by phone every month or so, in my opinion, to scope out the possibility of sinking her hooks in it. After a year passed, Grace took the gloves off and went hard after my dad. Grace was only 40 when she and my dad started seeing each other. I didn't like her, but at the same time, my dad at least didn't seem so depressed anymore. So I tried to be less pessimistic about her and give her the benefit of the doubt in my gut. I didn't trust her though. But we are Scandinavian, and at least in my family, the son does not tell his father what to do or even offer any opinion. Grace is from El Salvador, if you're wondering. My father was a very successful banker during his career and amassed quite a portfolio of wealth. I'll spare you the details, but after 6 months of dating, Grace and my father are married. My dad never really got over my mom, though, and he was getting weaker and weaker, even though he was only 57. Since his health was fading, he called me to him and asked me a question. Point blank, he said, "Boy, what do you need to set you up in this life?" I told him, "I don't need anything. I'm a man and can take care of myself." "What are you even talking about, Dad? You're 57. You won't be dying anytime soon." I did remind him that he had living sisters with children, my aunts and cousins. I also reminded him that I had a full scholarship to college, so I insisted that he didn't need to worry about giving me any cash. He died only a year later at 59. I, of course, have seen lots of Hollywood movies. So I consider the conspiracy theory that maybe my dad's nurse wife poisoned him and made him sign over all his money to her. But I really, honestly do not think that's what happened. Other relatives didn't like Grace either, but they knew my dad was totally in love with my mom and that her death utterly broke him. Well, long story short, my dad bequeathed his 5-bedroom house to me, even though I wasn't expecting it and didn't ask for it. He gave a small endowment to each of his sisters and their children. He left about 80% of all his existing money to Grace, which amounted to several hundreds of thousands of dollars. My dad ignored me because he's generous to a fault and still gave me several tens of thousands of dollars, which were, of course, very useful to me. Grace tried to put on a friendly front, but I could tell she was angry as hell that she didn't get my dad's house. It belonged to me, and I had the legal papers to prove it. She was especially mad because we live in an extremely upscale and trendy location, and houses are hard to come by and easily sold for massive profit. During the first few months after my dad's death, I had the nauseating, creepy experience of knowing that Grace was trying to feel me out to see if I might be into a little relationship with her. One night, when I was lying in my bed on my phone, she came into my room. She sat down at the foot of the bed and tried to sympathize with me about my dad's death. "Are you okay, honey? I know it must be hard for you to lose your father at such an early age." She began rubbing my leg as she said this. I replied, "I miss him. I really do." At that point, her hand was up to my thigh. She smirked. "Is there anything that I can do to cheer you up?" "No, I'm okay at the moment." "Come on, there has to be something." At that point I knew what was going on. She began to feel down there, and I simply froze. I didn't know what to do. Part of me felt that letting her do this would be disrespectful to my dad, but part of me was too afraid to do anything. As I heard the sound of the zipper, I stopped her. I just stormed out the room. I didn't say anything to her. The next time I saw her, we just acted like nothing ever happened. She still stayed at the house, though, because over the last 3 years, she had gotten used to living there and acting like she owned it. And even though I officially owned it, I was always away at college and only visited my dad's old house once every couple of months. And even then, it wasn't to see Grace, but to see my cousins who lived just a few miles away. I downplayed the fact that it was really my house. And over the months, I think Grace gradually forgot that she really had no legal right to the house. She probably believed that sooner or later, because I never asked her for any of the hundreds of thousands of my dad's dollars that she now had, that I was somehow independently wealthy and would just give up my house to her. When she started dating some new guy only 5 months after my dad was in the ground, I was furious. When I came home from college after graduating reading, she and her new boyfriend, some sleazy-looking dude named Ivan, who was also from El Salvador, were acting like I was a guest in my own house and that they owned it. I played along. Grace told me she gave away my PlayStation 5 to Ivan's cousin because I'm too old to play video games. Not my PS5. Not the one thing my father gave to me. I was done with her. I decided to come up with a plan. I quickly changed all my network passwords that same day. I smiled, but I knew what I had to do eventually. She also said that she and Ivan were getting married. I can't mourn your father forever, honey. She wanted to move on in life. So, I thought I would do the same. I told her that I graduated college and already secured employment with a local firm and will soon find a new place to live. She looked thrilled, although it was likely due to the fact that I would have a new place to live. Then, in a patronizing way, she tells me and Ivan are off to our honeymoon. "Can you watch my house for me?" "You mean my house?" "Sure. I live here, so it shouldn't be a problem." She scoffed at me. What a beach. When they left for their trip, I immediately put out advertisements, offering to lease my house. I hired movers and had all of Grace's furniture and possessions boxed up and put into a storage rental facility. I rented to a wonderful young family, a barrister and a schoolteacher wife and their 2 preteen children. They pay me their first and last month's rent and sign a lease for a year. I warn them about my crazy stepmom who thinks this is her house, but I present them with contact information to my lawyer, the same lawyer my dad retained in case they need any assurance that I'm on the level. I also gave my lawyer the information about the storage facility, including the fact that I generously paid 4 months of storage in advance, which is a whole month longer than Grace's check. I then found a great apartment in the city near my new place of work. There I met a woman in a restaurant frequently at night after a long workday. We have been dating 6 months now and are engaged to be married. Grace, of course, tried to shriek and cause trouble when she realized she got kicked out of my house. But my lawyer quickly shut her mouth without my having to ever speak to her garbage face again. From what I heard, now that she lost her only family and lost her place to live, she and her trash husband were forced to move back to their home country, El Salvador, and I assume they're blowing through my dad's money and will soon be broke. So maybe Grace will go and try to exploit some other lonely man into giving her his money. Speaking of money, the house that I rent generated so much money that I not only am able to help pay for my cousin's college, but I moved into a larger apartment of my own together with my fiancé. I love my job, but really, I could survive solely on renting my dad's old house. And to think, if Grace had only been cooler and nicer, I might have let her stay at the house just to be a good sport. But, no, she had to act all proprietary. So, I had to make her homeless as a wedding gift.